Woo! All right, so let's get this started. So the LA Valiant got their first Stage 2 win against the Atlanta Reign, 3-2 there, right? So what is your prediction for the Valiant for the rest of this stage?
It's tough to say. The Valiant have looked pretty weak overall this season, but I think they played one of their best matches of the season against the Gladiators. Even though they ended up losing that series, they looked cleaner. Fate, in particular, had a lot of good moments. So, I can't say that just because they did well against the Gladiators that suddenly there's going to be this massive resurgence for this team right now.
Mhm.
But I hope that we will. I hope that we will, and I hope that they will continue to improve. I don't know if it was the atmosphere of the crowd that got them playing better when they faced off against Gladiators. They were able to take that series against the Reign, so maybe that was a big turning point for mentality for this squad. It's really tough to break, a losing streak when you're 0-8 as they were. That's something that's really going to get into your head. So they beat the Reign. They looked good against the Gladiators. So maybe that's, I think mentally what might, allow them to finally improve in this new meta. So hoping for the best. I can't say that, I expect them to take more wins this stage, but
hmm
I hope they do. I hope that they can continue to improve.
I hope they can. I hope
Yeah,
they can.
the
A little
audience
strange.
group at the event that we went to
Yeah.
for NYXL was very pumped and hyped during
Oh
those
yeah,
games.
yeah, it was a good game, but Valiant, like you said, it's got to get into their head after being on such a losing streak. But hopefully they can reform for the best.
Yes, indeed. So moving on, the Dallas Fuel went 2-0 overall this weekend against the Toronto Defiant and Paris Eternal. How have they adjusted from stage 1?
Well, they had a lot of time to prepare because they didn't have matches in the first week, so there was a lot of time for them, and they also didn't play in playoffs to kind of learn this new meta.
hmm
And I think a lot of people were looking at that as the main reason why they found so much success so far in stage two. But for me, I'm definitely looking at their main tank player, OG. He's really stepped up his performance. He's playing way better than he did last year. He's playing way better than he did in stage one. His Winston in particular, his Primal Rages, a lot of analysts are saying that he might be the best Primal Raging Winston in the league right now.
Mhm.
And so I think we have to, start discussing, where he stands amongst some of the best Winstons in the league in mono and bumper. And because he's playing so well, the Dallas Fuel just look a lot more comfortable. They've traded Note to their squad as well, and he's showing a lot of flexibility at the moment. And he's helping to protect OG, so it's making their whole run feel completely different here in stage two than what we saw in stage one.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm excited to see what's going to come out of this new Dallas Fuel lineup. Hopefully reinvigorated now. And I saw that they were scrimming with the Envy Boys too, so maybe that adds something. Not entirely sure what it does, but maybe it does. All right, so the Gladiators now have more wins than they did all of stage one. What do you think they changed, and how can they keep it up?
I mean, I think the big thing with the Gladiators is always going to be Decay. We have to talk about this player who's incredibly gifted on the Zarya. He has a pretty big hero pool as well. He can play heroes like the Genji, which he has shown us so far this stage. And they just overall have a good support line to back it all up. And Shaz is super versatile. Big Goose is making big plays on the Lucio. So, I mean, once they got used to Decay, he came in late in stage one, right? So once they got used to playing with Decay, I think they're feeling a lot more comfortable. The support line's really stepped up. And also they're playing a lot more different stuff. Like we saw just yesterday, May coming out from Surefour. We're seeing Surefour in the lineup more. They're messing around with utilizing their full roster instead of just relying on Decay purely. And I think this team is going places. I think this team is looking at a top four finish in stage two for sure.
Ooh, a top four finish. That is nice. But yeah, like you were saying, I really love that they kept Shaz and Big Goose together, even through everything, right? It's been a while that this duo has been stuck together. But we also saw lots of teams experimenting with bunker comps, which we'll actually be talking about later in the show as well, meaning they're running something like Orisa, Bastion, and Baptiste. So do you think this is going to be viable moving forward? Like, will teams continue to figure this out, or it's just like a drop in the bucket here?
I've been talking to a lot of people about this. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm leaning towards that. I think this bunker strategy will eventually just start to fall off because teams are starting to figure it out. It's not being as successful as it was in the beginning of its popularity. Teams know how to break it with Hanzo. There's a lot of different dive styles that can break it. I think a lot of the weaker teams are running it because it's their best bet at having a decent hold and really working on that time bank on some of these maps like Hanamura, where you're at a disadvantage. Your opponent's team is better than you. They have a better track record than you. So you're going to try to do as much as you can with this bunker composition. It almost feels cheesy, in a way, but I think teams have started to really figure it out. So I don't know how much lasting power it really has.
Yeah, speaking of lasting power too, we got a question coming out from Twitch chat once again from Giga Griffin. He's asking, how do you think Paris can turn around their stage and their season around?
That's really tough to say, to be honest. I think for me, what I'm looking at for Paris is trying to utilize more DPS compositions, try to run Shadowburn on Pharah, for example, because we know he's an incredible Pharah. We know he's an incredible Genji. And when we see this team play just normal 3-3 with Azaria, there's issues. Soon and Shadowburn haven't had the best track record on the Pharah, but we're seeing a lot of good play with them, or sorry, on the Azaria, excuse me. We're seeing a lot of good play out of Shadowburn on Pharah on more DPS-based compositions, and I think that's the way to look at it, but it's tough. I mean, you can't just catch up with the rest of the teams in terms of Zarya play, but that still is the big part of this meta. It's still the point of this meta.
So obviously you gave us a really great recap of what went down, but looking forward to next week, what are some of the matches that you're most excited about? Or potentially, what are some matches that we should be focusing a little bit more, that may be a little more under the radar for some people?
For me, I think that a lot of people are underestimating Boston right now, and they've got RCK in their roster right now, and they're facing off against London and Vancouver next week. So I think it's two really big tests for them, because London is on a big resurgence right now, and Vancouver is probably the best team in the league. So I think how Boston matches up against these two teams really is going to solidify where they stand, as we head into playoffs and then stage 3. So yeah, those are the teams I'm really looking at right now, or the matches with Boston that I'm really looking at right now. Otherwise, keep watching New York. New York faces off against Philly. New York's on a tear. Vancouver's on a tear. If you want to watch the best games, you want to watch the top 3 teams. You want to watch New York, San Francisco, and Vancouver. And I mean, it's incredible how many teams we have currently as well that are undefeated in this stage. So, eventually these win streaks will be broken, and we will see these Titans match up against each other.
Yeah, I cannot wait until that happens. And like you said, RCK to the Boston, he's been performing pretty well. And so I think that matchup is going to be very good. Wolf, thank you so much for joining us here today. You guys can catch week 3 of the Overwatch League Stage 2 this Thursday on Twitch and OverwatchLeague.com. Wolf, thanks again.
Thanks, guys.